What is the Westminster Confession? In our denomination, we have two guiding documents for our doctrine, the Essentials and the Westminster Confession. Two very different documents. The Essentials is very short and is a broad statement of what it means to be a Christian. The Westminster Confession of Faith, rooted in a historic time and place, much longer, much more theological. The Westminster Confession of Faith was written by a group of English and Scottish clergy in the 1640s. So it is admittedly rooted in a certain time and place. And you can kind of tell what the theological arguments were of that day when you read it. The Westminster Assembly met at Westminster Abbey in England between 1643 and 1646. And the purpose was to bring the Church of England into greater theological conformity with the Church of Scotland and with other Reformed churches in other countries. And so Scottish clergy, British clergy, and scholars met with Parliament to develop what's now called the Westminster Standards. It's multiple documents. The standards include the Westminster Confession of Faith, and then the catechisms. Catechisms would be the same content formatted in a question and answer format designed for the teaching of children, the teaching of adults as well, the catechesis, the larger and shorter Westminster catechisms, and the Book of Worship. Now, the goal of greater Reformed unity throughout the British Empire was achieved for a short amount of time, but then England quickly reverted back to Anglicanism. But Presbyterianism ruled the day in Scotland, and the Westminster Confession still is considered an important and historic expression of Calvinistic theology and of Presbyterian government. It's still used by us and by all Reformed churches. To be ordained in the EPC, as an elder, as a pastor, you have to make a statement that says, I accept the Essentials without reservation, and I accept the Westminster Confession as the system of doctrine taught in the Scriptures, although certain exceptions can be allowed. And I encourage you to read through the Westminster Confession of Faith on your own. You can find a modern version of it at epc.org and read through that and see if you can see the debates that were going on that day and why it's so helpful to us even in ours. That's the Westminster Confession of Faith in a few minutes.